Hello everyone, my name is Heather from the channel Bookables, and today I'm here to share some tips and tricks for any parents out there, any guardians, babysitters, you get it, little ones, you get it, people that watch little ones. I get a lot, and I mean a lot of questions of how I'm able to read with kids, and I have multiple kids now, and I thought I would finally share a video about it because let me tell you right now, it's a hard question to answer because every person is so uniquely different in their situation. My situation with kids is going to be different from yours if you have kids. Yours is going to be different from somebody else's. So just take these tips and tricks with a grain of salt. Maybe they will help you, maybe not. But either way, I've been getting so many questions of how I kind of manage. I'm going to share with you what really works for me, and I hope it'll work for you. Either way, you know, we're all here trying to read, and we have kids, and it makes it hard. We love our children, but we also love to read, and it's a very hard balance. Like, it's just constant. One is up, one is down. It's just how it goes. So hopefully these tips and tricks will help you out. So my biggest tip for any like new parent, any parent of a really young one, things like that, is switch to a different format. Now, when I had my first child, almost 9 years ago. That's right, my first kid is gonna be 9 next month. If you can't believe it, don't worry, I can't either. Like, what? Read predominantly physical books. Paperback, hardbacks, that is what I read 100% of the time. Let me tell you right now, this is not feasible when you have a baby. There is no way you're gonna be able to rock a baby and hold a book. Like, it looks cool probably, but it's just, you can't flip pages. No, you need to go to a different format. Your best friend will be your phone. And I say your phone because it's just the most accessible, it's easiest to go through. If you have a Kindle or like a Nook, that's great as well. I will say that's pretty good too. Putting Kindle on your phone will help you tremendously. Babies wake up in the middle of the night. Sometimes you have to stay awake with them in the middle of the night. You have to put them to sleep. And reading from your Kindle on your phone is the easiest way that you can do it. It's fast and it's non-intrusive. It's small. You're probably on your phone anyway already. So switching formats is easy. And I know if you're a physical reader, that is really hard to do, but trust me, it will be worth it. And it won't always be like this. It will be a good chunk of your life probably. I'm still kind of in that chunk, but it'll kind of flow away. And speaking of which, it just doesn't have to be ebooks either. Audiobooks are a great way. Now, I never really got into audiobooks. I listened to some here and there, but honestly, my kids control the music of when I'm listening to in the car. My son's a very big music listener. I've told you that times and times again. Like, sometimes I think about writing a list of bands that he's into because he goes through different phases with bands. Like right now he's rolling the Gin Blossoms, and I'm not mad about that at all. He also loves Paramore. He also loves classic rock. He also loves typical kids music. Either way, he pretty much controls what we listen to. So I don't have the kind of mindset for audiobooks, but that's another great way. You can pop in a headphone when you're rocking your baby to sleep. Maybe you're taking your baby for a walk. You can listen to a book. That way you're watching your baby, yes, but also reading something you love to do as well. So that's my biggest tip, is to switch formats. Yeah, it's gonna be hard to say goodbye to physical books for a while, but you'll get back to them. It'll take some time, but you'll get back to them. My next tip is to read in spurts. So I think a lot of us, probably pre-kids, or maybe, you know, I don't know, just in general, had chunks of time where we're able to sit and read for like an hour, 2 hours, heck, even 30 minutes. When you have kids, I feel like that's kind of unrealistic. Maybe that's just me. For me, it's unrealistic to read that long a time, so I have to read in spurts a lot, and I have to be okay with that. What that means is I get a lot of reading done when I'm putting my daughter down for her nap. You know, I still have to rock her for a nap and sleep. I know everybody's different, okay? And I get to read a lot during that. That's like probably 30 minutes a time, and that adds up. Let me tell you, I read in spurts while I notice that they're playing by themselves and maybe they don't want for me to play with them. I encourage that as well. I encourage playing with your kids and, you know, let them exploring for themselves. A lot of times my daughter won't even want me to read her books. She loves books. Both my kids do, but sometimes they have times where they just want to look through the books themselves. So I'm just like, I'll read my book while they read their books. That might be 10 minutes. Take that 10 minutes, read a little bit, maybe give it in a chapter or two. while you're waiting for the grocery pickup or while you're maybe stuck in traffic is another great way. Just pull up your phone, read a little bit, of course, be safe. Another time where I get to read a lot is both my kids love to swing. We have a great swing set. And so I just sit in the chair like kind of right in front of them and I'll push them and I'll have my Kindle and I'll just read and just basically just read whatever you can. If you're a parent, you know, you don't have a lot of time where you can dedicate to reading. So reading in 10-15 minute spurts, it adds up. No, you're not gonna be able to get that 1 hour stretch in most of the time because it's just not feasible. But if you read in 10-minute spurts a little, like maybe 3 or 4 times a day, that adds up and that does help out. So that is a big tip for me to you, is reading in spurts. My next tip is not really a tip, but just kind of a general knowledge of like knowing that your reading is gonna change for a while. It's gonna look different. Take for example, before I had kids, I probably easily read 100 books, and it wasn't the case after I had my first child. That took me probably about 4 or 5 years to get back up to that, and then a little bit after that I had another kid, and guess what, it's back down again. But just know that your reading is gonna change for a while and to be okay with it. It's all different. Let me just tell you this too. This is not really a tip, it's just like kind of a general thing. When I had my first child, I didn't finish a book for probably the first 4 months of his life, and a lot that is to do is I did have some very, very heavy postpartum depression that I was not expecting. I really didn't know anything about it. I was quite lonely. And so I couldn't find a lot of joy in different things, reading being one of them. So it took me a long time to get back into that. And that was a hard thing. Now, flash forward 7 years later, I have my second child. I finished my first book when I had her a week after I had her. I'm not exaggerating. I can tell you what book it was and everything. I think it was The Party Crasher by Sophie Kinsella. I had already started reading it right before I had like an emergency C-section. That's a whole other thing. And then like after I got home, I started reading it again. And it was because I was in a different mindset. I had much more help. I didn't have postpartum depression that time. And it was just night and day different. I already kind of knew what to expect with the reading after having my first one. So just know that your reading is going to change for a while. I am just now, literally, just probably in the last few months or so, getting back into be able to reading physical books. Mostly it's been Kindle, and this is still a big crutch for me. I love Kindle books on my phone because of just the accessibility and the easiness. But just know that your reading is going to look different for some time, and it does not matter to anyone. It is what's best for you. It's what's going to work for you. Whatever you can fit in is what you're going to fit in. Next tip is for when you're ready to dip your toes back into the water of reading after having a baby, to read some quick reads. Maybe you don't dive into that 600-page fantasy you've been thinking about for a while. No, I think the easiest ones are to get some novellas, maybe get some audiobooks ready to go, maybe some fun romance ones that are just easy and light. That'll also help you mentally with having a baby. Having a baby is amazing, but it is a lot of work. It's a lot of stress on your body. It's a lot of stress on your mental health. It's, you know, taking care of another human life. It's a lot. So a lot of times, especially for me, when I'm stressed out in my life, I look for light, fun reads that kind of help boost my mood back up, and they definitely do. So I would recommend when you have young kids and you're maybe stuck, because a lot of times, you know, like I said, I struggle with postpartum depression with my first kid, and there's still a lot of times where I get very overwhelmed very easily with 2 kids, that I just have to kind of read a fun, quick, like book that will help kind of boost my serotonin up. Is that the best thing to do? I don't know, but it helps me. It's kind of maybe read quick reads, maybe put the big ones that you want to read for when you're able to have a much more routine structure when it comes to reading. That leads me into my next tip. Set realistic expectations for reading. Just know when you have a baby, don't think you're going to read 100 books in that year. If you do, that's awesome, phenomenal for you, but for me, that's not the case. Just set realistic expectations. Maybe start with, all right, I'm gonna read 1 book a month, and if you maybe can fly through that 1 book in 2 weeks, maybe you can move on to 2 books a month, and kind of build it from there. Just, you know, don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. And this especially goes for people that kind of have to read, that, you know, have content creation to maybe make. Maybe they make YouTube videos or TikTok reels, you know, TikTok videos or bookish reels or book blogs, things like that, where they kind of feel like they have to read for their content. I totally feel you. And that's a hard like pill to swallow, to know that your reading is going to really change drastically, like the amount of it, but just be realistic about it. Don't put too much pressure on yourself, because that's only going to hurt yourself and it's not going to help you. Trust you me, like, just take it easy. Whatever you feel like you can do is what you can do. So those are my tips. Are they the best tips? I think my biggest tip is just to read whenever you can. Will you have 5 minutes to spare right now? Go ahead and read. Will you have like 15 minutes? Maybe your husband took care of the kids for like 30 minutes instead of maybe doing the dishes. I'm guilty of this. Be like, you know what? I'm going to sit on the couch and read because that's what I want to do. Go for it. Read whenever you can. It does not have to look linear. It does not have to look like anybody else's reading but your own. And like I said, everybody is totally different with reading. With me, the biggest thing I've noticed for myself with getting books read is to set realistic expectations for myself. I took away TBRs because I felt like that was too much structure upon me, and I've learned that I really thrive on mood reading and just being like, whatever I want to read is what I want to read. And if I can read, and you know what? Not every day I read. Not every single day I am reading. There are days where I'm just like, I can't read. Everything is too freaking bananas today. I just can't even, the thought of touching a book is like, no thank you, I'm good. And be okay with those days. It takes me a lot. Like, I feel really bad on those days where I do not read, but then I'm like, some things are just a little bit more important, and that is okay. And I feel like it's so contradictory for me to say, like, be like, that is okay. But still, I struggle with that daily if I don't read. But just know, like, I know deep down, it is okay. Just like I know deep down for you, it is okay. So just read whenever you can. Quick books are great. Short books are great. Audiobooks, phenomenal. Kindle books are amazing. Either way, I hope those are some tips and tricks of how to read more as a parent. And I know I said a lot with young babies, but honestly, this is still applicable to me with having an almost 9-year-old, because it's just works for me. And like I said, not everything that works for me is going to work for you, but hopefully I gave you some useful things to, you know, use in your parenthood, with reading, with life, in your season of life. It's a tough season, and you know, it's a fun season when they're young, but it's also tough. Like, it's hard. I feel like this video is kind of weird now. I don't know, but either way, you know what? If it'll help someone, that's all that matters. And also, if you are a parent, or if you know any tips and tricks for reading, like when you have young kids, please leave them in the comments below. I know I'm missing some. If you leave some in the comments below, maybe we can get like a conversation going, and we can get more people to learn more tips and tricks. That would be phenomenal. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.